Hello, everyone, and welcome to SCORE Fairfield County live webinar on how to hire a good website developer. Jennifer, if I could have the next slide, please. I'm Bob Hogan, the webinar coordinator and a business mentor here at SCORE Fairfield County. I'm going to be your host today, and our presenter is Jennifer DeRosa. More on Jennifer in just a minute, but first some brief information on SCORE. SCORE is a national organization with over 11,000 volunteers across the country, and we're part of the Small Business Administration. Locally here at SCORE Fairfield County, we have over 130 volunteers with a wide range of industry, process, and subject matter expertise. And we provide three primary value-added services to small business owners. We provide free one-on-one counseling, and that can be face-to-face, but in these times it's via video, telephone, or email. And you can access that by clicking the Request a Mentor link that's on our website, or you can click the link that you see on the screen right now. We also offer a wide range of educational workshops and webinars. Again, in these times, they're all webinars, and we offer about 150 of those throughout the year. Lastly, we offer extensive resources on our website, including access to subject matter experts that you can tap on a number of different subjects. Our next live webinar is tomorrow, Wednesday, May the 6th, and that'll be at noon, and the topic is Small Business Marketing, how to connect during times of social distancing and beyond. And our presenters will be Suzanne Stillwell and Crystal Magistrel. You can find more specifics on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org. And also on our website, you can find a large number of archived webinars on a wide range of business topics that you can easily access. Just a few comments about our webinar today. We have set aside time for Q&A at the end of the presentation, but if you have a question, you can use the chat feature, and it's on the lower part of your screen. Just click chat, and you can submit those questions at any time during the webinar. And as I say, Jennifer will take time to answer those at the end of her prepared remarks. And we will end promptly at 7 p.m. to respect your time. The session is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be available on our website under on-demand webinars at fairfieldcounty.score.org, and that should be up there within about the next 48 hours. It's now my pleasure to introduce our speaker this afternoon. Jennifer DeRosa has been building websites and running her successful web agency, TechCare LLC, for about 22 years. TechCare is currently located in New Fairfield, Connecticut, and creates websites and services for small and medium-sized businesses and organizations throughout the U.S. Prior to forming TechCare, Jennifer was a consultant for such major companies as MBCC, U.S. Surgical, GTE, GE Capital, Unilever, and Calvin Klein. I'll now turn it over to Jennifer. Jennifer, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm also a SCORE member as well, and it's a fantastic organization. So my experience has been great so far. We'll just get started. So how to hire a web developer. First, a little bit about myself. I've been building websites for over 24 years. Over 22 of these years I've been in business. I started off learning HTML as something to do in the evening when I was in my younger years while I was selling wine during the day. And I just loved it. It was started out as a hobby, as many of you, if you are small business owners or want to become a small business owner, it may be something that grows out of a hobby, which I think is a great way to run a business. We're located in Connecticut as well. And let's talk about our goals when we're thinking about building a website. So, you know, you may have one, some of you may have one already and maybe thinking that you want to take the next step and have somebody build it for you. Maybe you built it yourself, or you had, you know, your son or daughter build it for you, or you want to just hire another web developer to beef up your website. And or you may not have a website yet. and you may be starting a new company. And in this time, during this time, I think a lot of us are looking introspectively and thinking about what we really want to do with our lives and what makes us happy. And there might be something that you felt was a calling and you said, okay, now this is my time. So whatever situation you're in, any of this can apply to you. And I'm going to also be speaking a little bit about WordPress here because that's what we use in our shop, but most of the concepts here can be applied to any web developer. Actually, I should also say this before we start. The reason why I am talking about this is because, I've been doing this for so long, and there's been, just I think, in the beginning, there weren't many people developing websites, and it would just be, you try to find a random person to help you. And then it got to be, there was some people, but a lot of people would disappear. And so people would come to us and say, my web developer, I can't get a hold of them anymore. That was for a little while. Now pretty much everyone knows what a website is, and they know that it's important to have one. And there's a lot of other people who have jumped into this business who, quite frankly, should not be in this business because they're not looking out for your best interests. And that is the most important thing, is you find somebody that's going to be on your side, because if this is your dream or your hobby, you're going to turn into something that's going to provide for your family. You want somebody who's going to have your best interests at heart. And so I do not like to see when clients come to me and they've had someone who has not had their best interests at heart. So the questions that I'm going to give you here to ask a potential web developer are important, so you can determine if they are trying to make a buck off you or if they're really going to help you. So let's talk about our goals. So what our goal should be is to build an up-to-date website. We want one that's, looks modern. We don't want one built looks like it's from 1996 when I first started. We want one that's easy to navigate, so you can find, people need to be able to find what they need to be able to find in the fewest clicks as possible. It seems that's obvious, but that's an important thing to think about. It's not quite that obvious. It needs to be emotionally intriguing. So any website that's out on the internet, if you have a website already, maybe you have a blog or maybe you have a website for your business, your website is triggering an emotion when people visit it. So if you think about, my website, when people visit it, is the emotion that people feel good or is it not so good? So whether you like it or not, it's doing that. So you want to trigger a great emotion and you want it to be intriguing. And you also want to build something that's either going to gather leads or sell your products or services. And that's kind of how we measure our websites. And so we also want to build them with good SEO practices. And SEO, probably most of you know this term by now, but if you don't, it's called search engine optimization. And what that means is search engines are something like Google or Bing or Yahoo search. So those search engines will go out and they, index the entire internet. When you search for something, something pops up. So you want, when people search for your services or your product or whatever, you want to show up. And this is very difficult to do. I'm just letting you know it's not super easy. If anyone guarantees, I got an email today, we guarantee you page 1, that's a lie. Otherwise, they would be very wealthy. No one knows Google's algorithm. So proper SEO, we want to have proper SEO techniques. We want to build something and we want someone who builds it for us to have proper SEO techniques. Google's looking for information in certain spots and it needs to be there. And if it's not there, you're not going to get indexed properly. So it's something to think about. Don't ignore that. And you want to do it what's called white hat practices. So what that means is you can do the other side of white hat is black hat. So white hat is like legal, you could say, okay, in the Google world. So you want to do it like so that Google can understand your website and you're doing it within their guidelines. And there are black hat practices. I'm going to show you some in a little bit. And then you want to have it so that it will grow with your company. So think about your website now. You should never think about, I'm going to do it and then I'm done, all finished. Nope. It should always grow with your company. So you want to have something that you're able to move around, move to a different place if it's not working out, have someone else work on it if that's not working out or whatever. So we just want to think about growth potential. So here we go. First question, how long have you been in business? Seems pretty obvious, but I don't know if actually anyone has asked me that question myself. So people should be asking me that. Is it a new venture? What background does this position have? And how involved are they in online communities? You know, that's one thing that, you know, I'm involved and the people who work for me are involved in online communities like such as, you know, even Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups or other groups on the internet where, you know, people ask questions, developers ask each other questions and we answer them and we help each other out. So that's important. But, you know, I had a client recently, which we're going to look at, I'm going to reference later, and she came to me. She was a client. She moved. She used some other web developers. She came back to me because she said, Jennifer, I have not had good luck. And you're the only person that I've trusted throughout this whole process. And come to find out, I'll show you later, it was somebody who did not have any experience building websites who took her for a ride. So find out that information, really important. Next thing is, can I see some of your work? So every web developer has a style. You may like it and you may not, and that's okay. And just because you don't like it doesn't mean they're a bad web developer, and vice versa. So look at the style of other websites they built. You know, we definitely have a style in my shop. There's definitely we will build things or, you know, we'll work on things together and we work collaboratively, and then we definitely have a way. So if you don't like, you know, if you were thinking of hiring us and you didn't like the website that we've built, you know, a bunch of them, you'd be like, okay, don't use us. That's totally fine. But you need to find someone you like their style. Are they built using modern design? So, you know, some of the modern designs are now we have full width, you know, photos that go all the way across the screen. We're using larger text. It used to be really cool, in the early 2000s, late 90s, to write with really small text that looked really awesome. But now are we using modern fonts? We used to only have 5 fonts we could build with. Now with Google fonts, we have so many fonts we can build with. Is someone employing that? Are they still using, you know, Times New Roman? So look at that. And then do all the websites that they build look the same? Are they unique? So I met some people. I did some trade shows last year, and I was, you know, talking to some people and looking at their websites. And so I had someone come to me. I'm just going to switch screens. This Corey Tree in landscape. So we're looking at the Wayback Machine because his website's not up anymore. But anyway, so I looked at his website. Okay, and I'm like, wow, that looks so familiar because I met someone at another trade show I did in Savage Farms, and that's what his website looks like. So, you know, okay, we scroll down. We've got 3 areas here. In need of our services, drop us a line. Come down here. Oh, 3 services. In need of our services, drop us a line. And then I started looking. Oh, here. 3 services, drop us a line. Premier Horticulture. Drop us a line. Okay, so you're kind of getting the point here, right? So this is something that you want to find out, you know. Now, let's just say that is a monthly fee website. It's not super expensive, so the people really are not going to care about doing anything special for you. And if you're going to pay a small price and do a monthly fee like that, you just be aware that they're not doing anything special for you. So if that's okay with you, then that's fine. But just be aware of that. Ask to see examples of what they've done. And then how do the sites behave on different devices? So you should look at some of their websites they've done. How does it look on a phone, on a tablet? Are they, you know, sometimes there's a little mistake made, or sometimes don't, you know, judge all their websites. Sometimes, you know, we will give customers the ability to go in and edit a website, or the web developer could have done that and the customer did something that, you know, on one page it's all messed up. So, you know, but overall, are the websites, do they look good on different devices? So those someone's asking questions. I think I'm going to do the questions at the end and just keep asking them there, and I'll talk about web developers and special training and stuff like that. So this is, I encourage the questions too. Thank you. So here's an example of a website. I got this last September, this email. I'm not sure if you can read the whole thing, but basically they're like, oh, not sure if you knew this, but your website, Tech Care LLC, has some problems. You might want to consider looking to, it doesn't work properly on mobile phones at all, which is how people browse the web these days, which, by the way, it depends on your business. I have a lot of businesses that, their customers, so B2B, right? So their customers are all sitting at desks. They're not browsing on mobile phones. A lot of people in the financial industry, those people are at a desk working. They're not browsing. Shopping, maybe that's more on mobile phone. So that's an untrue statement right off the bat. Okay, it's completely a lie. It doesn't adjust properly when you resize the screen. That's not true at all on websites. Hard to read online. Like, all this was such a lie. So I get these all the time, and you probably get them too, and you're like, oh, I wonder if these people are any good. No, notice that the lies are coming out here. I can develop on a more advanced platform, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, really? Let me just go see some of their work they've done. So I pulled up this website. So here it's up. This was in their portfolio, which they since then have taken their portfolio down, this company. There's no portfolio, and they redid their website, but they don't have any portfolio. So, if any of you know anything about web development, you can look at this and say, okay, this looks like it's from 2002. Many reasons. I don't need to go into all of them, and we could just start with the logo that's on a white background instead of being transparent. Let's just begin there and have these big, ugly buttons. And anyways, this is an example of a website that they do, and they were trying to tell me how horrible my website is. Okay, so don't trust all these emails that you get. Okay, so great question. Who does the actual work, and do you send it out? Is development sent out to other agencies? Is it done overseas? And do you hire developers on a project basis? This is a huge problem in our industry right now. I am a huge fan of talent overseas. There are pieces of software that are being written, and we pay just a fraction of a price in the WordPress world, and it's awesome. It's great. Gives people, this world of open source has given people in other countries who would not have an opportunity to be able to make some money and develop great products for the world to use. I think it's great. When you are a web development shop, though, some of it may be sent out, which is okay if it's heavy development, like really custom stuff. But if you are, let me just give you this example. What happened to my client that I told you? She came back to me. So she left for a while, and she moved and everything, and then she came back. So her website was totally messed up. Like, all these different things. Like, you would scroll, the logo would disappear. The WooCommerce was installed, which is an e-commerce platform. It was set up completely wrong. Like, it was a mess in the back end. And I go in there and I'm like, oh, okay, there is the email of the administrator user. So I said, let me just look this up. Now, she got charged a lot of money by this person, not the overseas person. She hired someone who lived in her neighborhood. And I figured out who she hired to do the website. She bartered floors. So he was a floor salesman. He was a floor salesman, but he realized, smart guy in some ways, he realized he could go on Upwork and all these other places and hire people to do a website, even though he knew nothing about websites, and he could charge her whatever she wanted. So I looked him up, and here he is, and you can hire him for $4 an hour. And I don't believe, from the number she told me, unless he worked a very long time on something that was broken, that that the gentleman who was in between, the floor salesman, he wasn't charging my client $6 an hour. So what this says is, and the point is that there's a disconnect. So the person that my client was working with, the floor salesman, didn't know how to answer questions, didn't know how to set up a website, didn't know how to write a navigation, didn't know all the things that you need to know, SEO and everything. This person just said, I'll just hire people, random people on the internet for $4 an hour. Look at this money I can make. Isn't that great? And what a disservice to my customer. Okay? So now she blew all that money for nothing and had to have us redo it again. The website looks great now, by the way, but you just need to find out who's doing the actual work. Now, if there's like you have some higher level development and there's some like custom things going on, calculators or software and stuff like that, you know, that may make sense to do it. But if 100% of the work is out overseas and the person who you're dealing with knows nothing about web development, I would pause there for a minute and just think if you would like to spend your money, you know, if you're spending $150 an hour and they're spending $4 an hour, so they're going to make that off of you. And then do you ask them if they hire it on a project basis? So, you know, this is true with almost anything. Like if you go to the grocery store, you want the same food to be there all the time. If they were constantly changing the brands and everything, you'd get upset because you find one that you really like and you go there and now they're not offering it anymore. So this is the same thing, like with for developers. If they're hiring them on project basis all the time, number one, you get different work. The work may be good on the previous website, not on yours. And then also, if someone needs to work on it later, they have to backward engineer everything that the other people did. So, because they don't know the way that they did it. And so it just wastes time. So just ask that question. If you're comfortable with it, that's fine. But it's just something you should, you know, think about it. This is a big debate in the web developer world, and I'm going to tell you my opinion on it, and I'm going to tell you that not everyone has the same opinion that I do. I would ask, will I have an administrator account? And the answer in my book should be yes. And the reason that I believe it should be yes is because, say I hire an interior decorator for my home and they come and they move the couch around, they bring in another piece of furniture from another room and set it up and add some pillows, whatever, they set it all up. Am I never allowed to change the room? Of course, I paid for it. I can change the room whatever way I want. It's mine. So I equate this same thing. If a web developer is going to give you a website, you paid for it, probably quite a bit of money. And so you should have full 100% access to it. Okay? So now, a lot of people in my world, the reason why they're anti this is they say, you know, this is typical things other web. Oh, well, the customers will screw it all up and it will look terrible and they'll mess it all up and I'll have to fix it. Okay, that's fine. If I give you an admin access and you mess it up, I'll go ahead and fix it for you. I'm going to charge you for it, but I'll fix it for you. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. But they just are like, want to protect it, lock it down so much so that people can't change it. Well, what makes the web developer think that they're so high and mighty that they can't have anyone changing anything? You own it. This is your website. It doesn't matter. If you get something you don't like, if there's a page or a section you don't like how it's laid out, how the web developer laid it out, change it. It's yours. You own it. So now, if you are nervous about like messing something up, you're like, oh, I don't want to log in with admin user because I'm not that great on the computer or whatever. No big deal. You can ask the web developer for 2 IDs. But one should have administrator access, because should you ever want to go with another web developer or do something different with another person, if you don't have admin access, this happens a lot. As soon as you start asking that person, they're going to be like, why do you need it? Well, what do you need it for? What do you need it for? And then all of a sudden you go some red flags, and sometimes it's with personal people and they don't want to put the red flags up and they get nervous, and it's just not a good situation. Get the administrative access in the beginning. And as I said, you're paying for it, you should have all access. And then this is just another thing. Never use admin as username. Just never. I took over a website once. We went down to New York City, sat in this big glass conference room, and I could see all the people in the back, and all these people came in and were like going to, deliver this website to my client, because my client had hired they had hired someone else to do the website, and then they wanted me to take over. So I was going in to meet them. And it's like all like formal in New York City a couple years ago, really like fancy, nice. I'm like, and they presented the website using admin. And I'm going to tell you why you don't want to use admin. When WordPress first came out, for many, many, many years, it would install and create a username admin by default. So every single WordPress installation around the world had admin as the user. So guess what? If you're a hacker, you got 50% already solved. Isn't that nice? So now, I don't remember when that was, whether that was 2013, 14, or around that time. I don't know, I could be wrong about it, so don't quote me on that. At some point, WordPress decided when they were going to install, you had to set up a username. But now, just so you know, when we set up the usernames, you should never use admin. So that website that I took over, that I showed you, the gentleman was $4 and everything. Yeah, that website, that when she gave me the administrator account, was admin. So that was the 100% first thing that we changed on that website. So don't use admin, very insecure. Now, this is a WordPress only thing. So tell me about the theme you will use. So I don't want to get too technical in here, but I'm going to just describe this a little bit. And some of you are probably over technical on this or under technical. I'm going to try to stay in the middle, okay? If on WordPress, all WordPress websites need to be built on a theme, okay? So that theme can be, let me just mention, Jonathan just asked, what are the two IDs for the website access? One is admin access. The other one can be like an account that has only the ability to edit pages. It's a limited account. So if you're nervous about like deleting plugins or something like that, you'll mess something up, you would log in with the limited account just so you could go in and maybe write a new blog post or edit a product or a page or something like that. That's what the other account, it's just less rules, but you still need to add one admin in case you need to do something bigger. Okay, so all websites are built on a theme in WordPress. They're all built, whether it's a teeny theme stripped down that doesn't have any options, or it's a really big theme that has a lot of options in it, okay? And themes can be either custom, paid for, or free. So the free ones, they're okay. Then you can pay for some, and those have more functionality, and they're usually like around $30, $40 or whatever, and you own it, which is great. Then there are custom themes. Custom themes, and this is another debate in our WordPress world. At this point in 2020, unless you're doing something really, really unique, you don't need a custom theme written for you. So you can get a theme that's already built. And buying a theme that's already built is going to, number one, save you money. Number two, because you're buying it from a theme developer, the theme developer, what's their job? All day long, they're writing theme and they're modifying the theme. And guess what? Chrome updates all the time, Safari updates, Edge updates, Firefox, whatever you're using, right? They update. Well, and then they're always finding bugs and things that people can hack into. So the theme developers are constantly fixing those, and they're coming out with updates, okay? Some of them even come out with an update every week. When you get a custom theme written, if you hire someone to write a custom theme, guess what happens? Who's going to support it? You have to think about the next couple years. Who's going to support? If no one's going to support it, it's just going to sit there and never be updated. For me, I don't choose that route. I want something that's going to be updated. The world is changing too much in that world of IT. You need something that's going to be updated. So in our office here, we use a supported theme that is supported by a large number of people. And so there's a lot, and there's communities built around it, so we can ask others for help, and they come out with updates on a regular, it's like a company. It's a company, okay? It's not one person that's writing the theme in their garage, which that you can buy those also. And it's great. It gives people ability to make money. But I have had it many years ago when I used to use those kinds of themes. One time, one of my customers, their whole portfolio broke and everything, and we wrote to the theme developer, and they're like, oh, well, you should just go back and stay in the old revision. I'm like, dumb answer. You should not stay in the old revision for anything in IT these days. So you want something that's going to be supported and you're able to grow with your company. So we use one that is, we can do almost anything with and is awesome, and it is very flexible. This is a great question, and most of you probably think, oh, I have a website, it's being backed up. Probably not. We've never had someone come to us with backup. I've been doing this 20-something years, and no one comes to us with backup. It's amazing. Actually, I shouldn't say never. Once in a while, people come to us with backup. Crazy. You get a website, and you're like, oh, I'm sure it's being backed up there. You're on GoDaddy? No. Do you pay for it? If you pay for it, okay. If you're not paying an extra fee, backup. Bluehost, you have 1 day. HostGator, those, yeah. So backup, to me, is super important. Your data is only good as as good as your backup is. So that's what we've been saying for years. So what kind of backup do you want? You can either get it in the hosting account. So in WordPress, there's like WP Engine and Flywheel and Kinsta and Cloudways. They run backups every night. So it might be fine, that backup. Sometimes in WordPress, there's a free plugin that you can get. So the free plugin might be all right, but where are the files kept? I've had situations where I've had customers that they were running a free backup. Like I said, most people came to me with no backup, and I'm remembering one of my customers, they had a free, and like it was taking up all of the storage on their web hosting because it kept all of them. And so like they couldn't figure out when they came to me, they're like, we don't know what's going on and blah, blah, blah. And then we figured out, okay, like all these backup, let's figure this out. So where are the files being kept? If they're being kept on your own server also, what if like something really bad happened? It's like keeping, your fire extinguisher right under your stove, which you're not supposed to do that, right? So you're supposed to keep it like by the entranceway because you can't get to it. So it's like it's going to burn up with the fire. So if you have all your backups sitting right in your own website, guess what? It's going to burn it up with it. So don't keep your files there, okay? Really big question, how easy to restore and who does it? A lot of times people are like, oh, I got backup running, it's fine. Well, WordPress, you have to do two kinds of backup. You have to back up the database and the files, and they all have to match. And how do you restore it? Have you tried to manually restore a WordPress installation? Okay, if you're not technical, it's not fun. It's not fun even if you are technical, actually, to tell you the truth. But sometimes, like, there are pieces of software. So we use a piece of software that is so awesome. I've been using it since before 2011 because I just was looking the other day when I first was mentioning it to a customer. And it's called one-click restore. It's actually a couple more clicks than that, but literally it's like click, click, click through, and you can restore your website. If you don't have that kind of website, like if you have it with the host or whatever, you need to find out. You need to, like, if you have a website right now, this like needs to be your little project that you do tonight after you get off, unless you're having margaritas. Or you can do it tomorrow morning, but you need to do it in the next couple of days. And you need to find out, do I have backup running? Call your host and find out if I need to restore it, who does it, and is there a charge? They may charge you $150, or they may take 3-4 days to restore your website. Okay, so you need to find out how restoring it. You have to find this out. Then also, but what the ideal is, you should have it off-site. It should be a daily backup that runs without your intervention, and you keep 90 days, and it's one-click restore. That's what you want. That's your goal, okay? So find out if you are running backup or not. How easy is it to restore? Super important. People do not think of that. Leading into this, same type of thing, malware protection. Okay. Yes, remember years ago it used to be Word always got hacked and everything, and a coronavirus. Well, now it's malware on websites, and people love putting malware, and they can put like a little piece of software you might not know that helps them do another type of bad activity. So like nothing may be happening on your website, but your piece is involved in this big, large schema. You don't want to be part of this. Like you want your website to be legit. You want it to grow your business. You do not want to be part of this. Or it can be so bad. I've had customers mostly years ago, and they like owned by Brazil or whatever. And then most recently, one of my customers, they did two websites. So they were dividing their company into two. So I took one, another company took another, and their other company, I was on their Google Analytics for the other company, and I got this thing that the main country for the other company was changed to some Asian character. And I'm like, okay, this is not right. And they were trying to hack in through Google Analytics, but they got in through the website because, oh, the other name you shouldn't have was the main, instead of admin, was dev. Okay, that's like, do not have dev or admin as your main users, but they set that up that way, and the people hacked in because they had 50% and they got in. Anyways, malware protection. So do you have any running on your website? Now, some of these websites for WordPress are going to have a really strong firewall, and so those are going to, be more helpful. And other hosts like GoDaddy, Bluehost, HostGator, all those, they have like all different kinds of things running on their servers, right? It's not just WordPress. So how are they going to like focus in on protect against WordPress hacks? They're not. So it's more likely to get hacked on. And plus, you're in shared server space, which is normal, and that's fine. But shared server space, like sometimes if what they call a noisy neighbor, or sometimes a neighbor does something, it can affect your website. So you need to just be aware. Like, you don't want, I had one time a pediatrician office and there was pornography on their website. Like, that is just really not okay. So you do not want that to have happen. So what is for malware protection? So ask the web developer, do you do something? And then how much is it to clean the site, and how easy is it to clean it, and who's gonna clean it, and how much money? Okay, you don't think about this problem until it happens, but I'm telling you, it happens. So just find this information out, get a plan in place, and then you don't have to worry about it. Super important. Who will write content for the pages? Okay, so I had someone else that came to me, and here we go. So they were talking to me, and they said, oh, they copied these words here, right? So let me find my Google. So I just copied those words. This was on his website. We understand that the outdoor aesthetic of your home or business is important as your interior. We have a team of experts that will consult with you to determine your needs. So I just took those words off this guy's website and put it into Google. So I searched for that. Oh, lawn care. The outdoor aesthetic of your home or business is important as your interior. We have a team of experts that will consult. Okay, here's another one. The outdoor aesthetic of your home or business is important as your interior. We have a team of experts. Okay, outdoor aesthetic of your home is important as your interior. Okay, these are all the same words. And all these websites have the same words on them. Okay, this is not cool. And it's not cool, not only because they don't care about you, which we discussed in the beginning is super important. Google has a thing called the canonical authority. You can't have duplicate content. They say 26% or some ridiculous number of the internet is duplicated. If you want SEO, remember we talked about SEO, so you want search engine optimization, you want people to come to your website, you can't have duplicate content. It's copied. It's like, remember in school, like you can't do that, okay? So you have to have original content. So what happens is when Google knows that that's all copied, you don't get indexed for it. So why even bother building a website? Just why are you gonna spend the money? If you're gonna have a website, it's not gonna get indexed and Google's not gonna return it and it's gonna have fake content. So just don't bother doing it. So anyways, who's going to write it? Are you going to write it? Are they going to write it? Who's writing it? And make sure it's going to be unique. How much is going to get costs? And are they going to give you the pages you need to write content for? So that's the question. This is a little technical. I'm going to do 2 seconds on this. Heading tags, it's amazing. A lot of people don't use them correctly. You don't really have to ask them. If you want to ask them this question, you can. It's very technical, and they might be like, why are you asking me this question? But just so you know, there's only one H1 per page. There can't be more than one. Google wants one H1, and what that means is a heading is just something you code into the back end of every page of every website. There needs to be an H1. Someone should be coding. I've come across websites with no H1. You need to have an H1, but only one, not more than that. And then you use H2s and H3s. It's just something, if someone doesn't know what you're talking about, if you ask them this question and they act like you're being an idiot, that's a good person, okay? They know what they're doing. If you ask them this question and they're like, what? I think you probably should move on. Is optimizing the site, the SEO work included? So usually it's not included, so don't expect it to be included. I have some customers who are like, didn't you do this? Well, no, that's a whole other project. So no, we didn't. So you should expect to spend some money after you go live to install local schema. If you're a local customer, you should have local schema. What that does is puts code on your website that Google's looking for so they know where you're located, and they know your NAP, your name, address, phone number, NAP. They also know things like your hours of operations, if you're a restaurant, like some different things. So anyways, there's some code that goes on the back end of your website you do not see, but Google wants to see it. And if they don't see it, oh, well, you just get skipped on that, but you should put it on there if you're a local business. It's super easy. There's tools out there. We have a tool that we use, super easy, and it's really helpful. You can want to do your titles and meta descriptions. That's what comes up when you do a Google search. It's like this, this home, Plainfield residential is the title, and this is the description down below. So doing that work, that's a lot of writing. That's why it's not usually included. It's usually a separate line item. It's a lot of writing that needs to be done. And you want to insert your keywords in the content. And there's a thing called directories and citations, which I'm just going to move along because it's getting later. Directories and citations, your website, if it's been out there a while, is in directories all over the internet, whether you like it or not. And if there's inconsistencies, Google doesn't like that. So you want to make sure that all of that work is done so it makes it all consistent. And you want help with your Google listing. Google, if you're starting a new business or you had a new business, you need to make sure you're in control of your business listing, which you just go to business.google.com. So business.google.com, and you get control of your business. And how you can tell if you're in control of it is if you Google your business in that little panel that comes up on the right hand side. If it says own this business, that means you need to click on that and go through the steps and get control of your Google listing. But this is SEO work. It's important to do. Keyword phrases. I had a customer who came to me and he was paying a company $600 a month to optimize his website. And so when I found out, I said, what words are you using? They were using Hardscape Reading because they were in Reading, Pennsylvania. If you look at this, if you can see it, I just looked in the Google AdWords tool. 0 to 10 searches are being done per month for those words. So he was paying $600 a month for 0 to 10 searches a month. In my mind, no, you would rather optimize your pages for words that are actually being searched for. So just ask them, how will you do your keyword research? How are you going to choose those words? Like, what logic are you using? So, and what is included with the SEO work? So, where will the canonical authority live? This is all kind of the same thing. What I was talking about, like where's the main content going to live? The first article that's written, not all the other ones that we showed you before that are all over the internet that are copied. So this customer of mine, and I'm going to show you this quickly, this is really important, okay? So I had another customer today. We just went live with their website, and he wanted to, he's like, oh, what do you think about getting these backlinks from this person here? Okay. You have to find out if they're going to do backlinks. And if you don't know what backlinks is, that means it's a link to your website. Google really cares about the more backlinks you have, the better off you are. A goal is to get more backlinks, but you have to get them legit. So getting them legit means getting articles in the paper with a link to your website. Having, oh my gosh, if you could have like a big news agency, CNN or whatever, run an article about you and link to your website, that is like really great, because it matters also the quality of the links that you get to your website. So if you have all these crappy websites on the internet linking to you, then Google says, oh, it's kind of like they know who your friends you hang out with. You hang out with a bad group. So they're not going to index you that well. So I had this customer come to me, and I just want to show you this because when we had a call with the team that was charging them that $600 a month to do those terrible words and then to give them backlinks, he said, they said, oh, we can't tell you where our backlinks are. That's our special sauce. I'm like, oh, really? So you're special? So you're paying $600 and they have a secret? No, we're not playing that game. You should not play that game. Anyone who tells you that in any kind of business that you're paying good money for, that's a ridiculous statement. So anyways, we looked him up. I'm going to show you. This is what he was paying for. Okay, this is a blog that was written, and residential landscaping Reading. That's what they're going for. I'm going to just read this in case you can't read it. Lastly, sustainability offers occupied the predominant, however, contested put on the public plan. While couple of question the essential idea that human being life in the world must eventually be lasting, the precise associated with this phrase, especially in metropolitan landscape, continues to be subject to heavy disagreement. For that reason, there is an excellent need for much more specific frames for interpretation and applying urban scenery sustainability, like in residential landscape renting. And that links to his website. Here's another one. Recently, maintainability offers possess the unmistakable anyway challenge put on people in general agreement. While couple of inquiry, the basic thought person, life on planet should in the end be enduring. Exactly. Here's another one. That's this same text we saw before. People who have businesses at home are happy to do some landscaping jobs that turns the space to be beautiful. This is kind of okay. People who have businesses at home happy to do some landscaping jobs that turns the space to be beautiful. Oh, duplicate content, not being indexed. People who have businesses at home happy to do some, not being indexed. Landscaping is a lucrative business. It's not a huge surprise when many savvy individuals invest on a commercial landscape. But you read through these things, they're called word farms. They're not okay. It's not all right to be paying $600 a month for someone to do this to your website. It's doing it to your business because those are not good websites and they're linking to you because you decided to pay for them and now your website's going down. Don't do it. If you're going to get backlinks, do it legitimately. It's hard work. Try to do it legitimately. If you are going to hire somebody, you have to see where their other backlinks are, and you need to know where your backlinks are. Really big, important thing. Who's going to do the updating? A lot of people hire a web developer to do their website and then no one updates, or they don't have a plan to update, or they're like, oh, I'll just hire someone else. Well, you know what? If someone, that happens to us, we do take over websites, but we don't know the theme that they built on. We don't know the plugins they were using. So if something goes wrong, it takes us longer because we haven't developed it to figure out what's going on the back end. Can we do it? Absolutely, 100%. Is it best for you as a business owner? No, you want someone, you call them, you don't want to bring your Ford to, or your Mercedes-Benz or your Alfa Romeo to the Ford dealership. I mean, they may understand it, they know how to do cars, but they don't know all the intricacies. Oh yeah, and that 1 year and that 1 month they made all these cars and it had this really weird issue, but we know about it because we work on them all the time. That's what you want people to say. So also too, is it going to be okay with a developer? I have one website. I did the website originally. It's a big committee. Someone else got the website when they were redoing it, unfortunately. I was very sad about that, but they're like, the person who's in charge of it is like, I like dealing with you. So I deal with the website. I take over it. So we do it here, but you got to ask the developer, can someone else maintain it if you have someone else in mind? Just, everyone needs to know what's going on, okay? And if something breaks during the updates, is it included in the pricing? And we highly recommend you have a maintenance plan in place, okay? Who's going to make the content changes going forward? There's, if it's a developer, how do you get information to them? I have some people tell me it takes them 2 weeks to hear back. They send over changes, it doesn't come back. How much is going to cost and what's the time frame? So just know that. I mean, you should pay for updates being made to your website. That's a normal thing. But you need to know how much is it going to be, how long is it going to take them, how do you get them the information. Just, you're going to have changes, not one thing you're done, you're going to be making changes. Just have a plan for how that's going to happen. So that's a really good question to ask. Accessibility, I'm not going to talk too much about this. A whole nother thing is about making your website accessible to people who use screen readers and who don't use a mouse, that use only keyboard. It's very new. People are getting sued in some states, California, Florida, New York, especially. There are tools that are coming out now that can run you $500 to $1,000 a year that do most of that work for you, which is a brand new thing. Most of the people in our world, I just got quotes for someone to do a report on what we have to do for the accessibility, and it was $5,000 to do the report, and then the work would be after that. So you'll see how expensive that can be. So just, you can get a feel, like, are you going to do that? Are you not? I'm not going to go too much into it, but you may want to ask that. It's not really in the forefront right now, but it's going to be coming up. And how to be a good customer. This is really good too. And then I'll take your questions. Make a list of your services or your product categories right now. If you have not built your website, make a list of them. Put it down on paper. Photos, gather and organize your photos. I cannot stress this enough. Rename them so they're meaningful. schedule a photo shoot, put them in folders, follow a naming convention, and choose your favorites. I get photos all the time that are horrific. If you're a landscaper, take some nice photos without the hose and people's coffee cups, and open up the umbrellas and put the pillows on the couches and take the cover off of the outdoor grill. So these are things you need to do. It's really worth the money to hire a professional photographer. The websites I've done that have professional photos, oh my gosh, I cannot tell you how beautiful they are. Gather your logins and test each one. About 50% of the time, logins are sent to us, they're wrong. Costs you money because we get all ready, we read a ticket, we're like, okay, I'm gonna go in, let me think about it, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, okay, I'm all set. Yep, okay, spend some time planning out your day. I have this much time, I'm gonna be able to get all this done. Great, let me read through everything they want to. Great, I'm gonna do it all. Go log in, boom, can't log in. Now I gotta spend time writing you an email saying the logins don't work. And by the time you figure that out, it's gonna send it back to me. I don't know, I'm not gonna be in the same mind set. Test your logins. Test them, test them, test them, test them, test them. Pay your bills on time. Anybody likes getting paid on time. Nobody likes being stiffed. Pay your bills on time, you'll get better service. It's pretty much with anything. And do what the developer assigns you. Don't drag the process out. I've had people, we just launched a website. They started in 2015. We just went live, and guess what? It ended up costing double because we did a whole thing. It costs you just when you're ready. Don't hire a developer until you're ready to go. Until you've done all the things on this list. Your product category services are written out. You have all your photos, they're organized, your logins, you've tested them, and you're ready to pay your bills. Then hire a developer, do what they tell you to do. And thank you for attending. So I guess I'll answer some of these questions.
Yeah, Jennifer, it's
yes.
Bob. Why don't I kind of moderate them? We do have a lot of questions coming in, so I'll try and get in as many as we can here in the last 10 minutes. And maybe I'll start with one from Jonathan. How much time should be allocated for maintaining website SEO if you're doing so in-house, or if it was managed by a developer? How do we know how much hour-wise or cost-wise is acceptable, knowing that this fluctuates with website complexity and company, et cetera? So do you have any guidance for that?
Yeah, that's a really hard question because there's so many different parts of SEO that need to be done. And some things are one and done, and people like to charge that as a residual price. Like, for example, if you see in a proposal, Google Analytics, right? And that they're charging you over and over that every month, you set it up once, and then you can go in and look at the reporting, but nothing else needs to be done unless they are going to pull out special reports and explain them to you and go over it and everything like that. There's a lot of different people, I know companies, some of them charge, like they start at $750 a month. And then there's other things like writing your title and meta tags I showed you, like what's in Google, like, this and this, that's once, you do it one time. So that is not a residual price. So there's not an exact, I'm sorry, I don't really have a good answer for that because it is all over the place.
No, that's understandable. There's not a lot of consistency by site. Here's one. If I already have a website built by a company, how do I take it over? I feel as though I'm getting charged way too much, and how much should I pay?
Okay, well, it depends. Like some of those websites I showed you before, they charge, like they never charge an upfront fee, and then they charge every month like $500 or $600. Some of them charge $90 a month, whatever. That's an ongoing price, but you never got an upfront fee. I'll just tell you, like average price for a website, what you should be considering, and it also depends on really how involved your website is, right? So it can be kind of but if you use $5,000 as a point of reference, you should be good. If you, and it depends on, like, if you're only going to do like a brochure website with 6 pages, this probably shouldn't come in at $5,000. But if you have a website and you want the web developer to put in 50 products, yeah, you're probably going to be over that, because that's more hours. So I would use $5,000 as just kind of an average price, and then work off of that. And I just want to tell you one thing too. Sometimes people come to me and we give them a price and it's too expensive, and they're just starting a business. Many of you may be starting a new business with all this going on, right? And you're like, oh, I can't spend $5,000. All right, go and build it yourself. I tell my customer, go build it. Go build one on Wix, go build one on Weebly, Squarespace, whatever. Build it yourself. because what's not going to do is going to get you organized. So when you come back to me later on because it's not functioning the way you want, you really looked at all the beautiful themes, and when you put your content in there, it looks horrible, right? And you're like, I can't do this. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work doing a website. I'm not lying. You'll come back and you'll be like, I appreciate what you're doing. So if you don't have $5,000 right now, try to build it yourself. Get yourself organized. So when you go spend the $5,000, now you know that the value and you're organized, you're gonna have something better than starting out zero.
Couple questions here, and I can touch on some of these terms during the webinar. But there's a question here on what's the difference between a web developer and a person who understands HTML, and what special training does a web developer have? And then there's another related one. What's the difference between a web designer and a web developer? So maybe you can just address that as a block.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, some of these are just terms, right? So I could call myself a web designer or a web developer. I don't care, but some people are more specific. So if you want to be specific, I guess some people do just design. So they're in graphic design. So they design the website and then they hand it off to someone to code it. So that might be a different, and the coder would be the developer. Okay, so that might be a differentiator there on that. And then wait, what did you ask about the other thing about the web?
Difference between the web designer and a web developer.
Yeah, there was another question though that was in that.
Oh, a web designer and HTML.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay, so okay, so when I first started out, everything was coded in HTML on Notepad. We Notepad and would write it, and that's still like what the browsers are reading, but I rarely touch HTML now, only if there's something really weird or I have to troubleshoot something, because we use tools WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get. We use amazing tools now, and most tools that are built for anything, whether you're going to go with WordPress or you're going to go with, Squarespace, they're all drag and drop type editors. So we don't even look at HTML anymore. But what is rendered from what we do, the coding behind it is HTML. And it's important for a web developer to have an idea of HTML. Would I expect them to have to write it? Not in these day and age, not now. Troubleshoot it, yeah, but not have to write it from scratch.
Okay. A question here, speaking of WordPress, is on WordPress. What do you think of WordPress multi-site if you have more than one website?
Well, okay, multi-site is for being able to manage multiple websites in one location and being able to push out like software. I don't want to be too technical. If you have like, it depends on what you're doing, and that may get too technical for somebody who's just going to have two websites. If you have two websites and they're kind of related but kind of not, they're going to have different functionality. I mean, the multi-site helps you streamline functionality as well. So if like one website is doing like quotes and the other and selling things, and the other website is just a brochure, you probably don't need multi-site for that. So multi-site has its place, but if you need something, if you have a technical need for it. So I wouldn't really worry about that for the most part if you're just having two websites or three.
There's a question here, and you touched on it in one of your slides, and like what is a theme? When you talk about the theme for your website, maybe you can elaborate on that.
That's also kind of a technical question. So a theme is, all WordPress websites are built on a theme. It has to have a theme, and that kind of a theme will generate the HTML. We can say that, okay? So the theme generates the base HTML, like the holders for the information. So if you're not a web developer, you don't really need to know too much about the theme. You just know that you need to know that the people, whoever's developing your website, you want them to use a supported theme. And I have people sometimes say, all right, I want to use this theme, and they'll show me the theme, and we'll look at it and be like, oh, that's really beautiful. I don't need to use the theme to make your website look like that. I can use a different theme to help. A theme just helps you and helps you make your website look the way you want. I have on my website, I did a video series and everything on what's the difference between a name server, a registrar, WordPress, a theme, plugins, and something else. I haven't looked at it in a while. So I describe that in more detail on my website if you really want to know what a theme is.
Okay. Let me see, we only have a couple minutes left. Just maybe one or two more questions. There's one here. Can you use stock photos, and can you give people an average idea of cost for hosting a website?
Okay, so hosting a WordPress website, you should plan to spend around $35 a month. That's a general fee. It can be as low as like 20, but 35 is a good, anywhere in that range, 20 to 35 a month. That will come with backup and be a good, come with staging and everything. So that's a good number to use. And stock photography. Stock photography can be awesome. I don't like using stock photography that looks too stocky. Like, remember, the person with the headset with the little thing that comes by their mouth? That is like total stock photography. And the one thing I want to say on stock photography is that your images on your website either build trust or erode trust. So every time you look at an image, does it build trust or does it erode trust? If I go to a website and I see that person with the little thing, the headset, already I'm like, well, these people aren't real, or I don't know who these people are, or it could be a scam company. If I go to if I do a landscaping website, if I'm using their pictures, I am not going to use stock photography for a landscaping website because it should be their work. And there's ways to take your own photos, even for lawyers, which we've done several of them, and it's completely boring for photos. I've gone to an office and taken pictures of close-up of like their desk, their books, their like gavels, things like that to use around the website to give. Images are super important. Use stock photography, which is fine if you cannot do your own. First choice is professional taken. Second is you can take them yourself on your iPhone. It's fine. Third choice is stock photography that is not stocky and that will build trust. Think of that in your head when you're looking and choosing your photos.
Okay, that's great. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for questions at this webinar. Just as a reminder, the webinar was recorded and the materials will be available within about 48 hours on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org, so you can see the slides and hear the audio. Our next webinar is tomorrow at noon, and the topic is Small Business Playbook, How to Connect During Times of Social Distancing and Beyond, with Suzanne Stillwell and Crystal Magistral. And again, if you want free counseling, maybe you could advance the slide, Jennifer, and
yes.
That link is up there again. You could click on that, or you can go to our website, and there will be evaluations coming after. If you could fill those out, that really helps us a lot. And so on behalf of SCORE, I would like to thank you all for attending our live webinar today. And in closing, a special thank you to Jennifer for presenting. So stay well, everyone, and have a nice day.